From the moment she wakes up, the world applauds her existence. The phone lights up, likes, comments, DMS, digital worship disguised as validation. Every notification is a whisper. You matter, you're seen, you're still relevant. And for a while, that's enough. Because attention, in the modern world, isn't just a luxury. It's survival. It's how she measures her worth. It's how she confirms she still has power. It's how she quiets the voice that asks, would anyone notice if I disappeared? But attention has a dark side. It's a high that demands more each time. The compliments that once made her blush now barely make her blink. The messages that used to excite her now feel routine. And the constant noise of admiration becomes background static. Until one day, she meets a man who doesn't add to the noise. He doesn't comment. He doesn't chase. He doesn't orbit around her like the others do. And for the first time in years, she feels withdrawal. Because his silence is the first thing that's made her feel in a long time. Every man before him gave her validation without question. And that made their attention worthless. But his? He withholds it. Not out of cruelty, but because he's not playing the same game. And that's what makes him valuable. See, attention that's always available loses its meaning. But attention that's scarce becomes sacred. So she starts to crave his... The same way an addict craves one last hit, not because it heals them, but because it silences the ache. She tells herself she's intrigued, that he's mysterious, that there's something different about him. But what really draws her in is the space between her and his silence, the tension, the uncertainty, the lack of control. Because in that quiet, she's no longer in charge of how she's seen. And that loss of control feels like hunger. The more indifferent he becomes, the more alive she feels. It's the paradox of modern desire. She's addicted to attention, but obsessed with the one man who doesn't feed it. Because his silence does what no amount of validation ever could. It makes her look inward. And that's what she fears most. Attention kept her distracted from herself. Silence forces her to face what's left when the applause stops. And in that stillness, she realizes something she's not ready to admit. She doesn't want love. She wants to matter. And the man who ignores her? He's the only one who makes her question whether she ever did. Rejection doesn't just sting. It rewires the mind. Because the moment someone withholds validation, the human brain doesn't interpret it as indifference. It interprets it as danger. And for modern women, raised in a world overflowing with attention, that danger feels personal. See? When everyone else rushes to please her, the man who doesn't creates contrast. He's not rude. He's not cruel. He's just absent. And that absence becomes obsession. Every unanswered text becomes a mystery. Every delayed reply becomes a riddle. Every silence becomes an invitation for her imagination to fill in the blanks. Did I say something wrong? Did he lose interest? Is he seeing someone else? But none of that matters. Because, in truth, he hasn't done anything. He's just living, detached, focused, peaceful. Yet his stillness disrupts her programming, because she's been conditioned to believe that attention equals affection, and that affection equals worth. So, when it disappears, her ego goes into survival mode. She doesn't chase love, she chases equilibrium. She doesn't want him. She wants the feeling of being chosen again. It's not romance, it's biology. The brain interprets rejection as loss, and loss triggers obsession. The fewer signals she receives from him, the more her mind amplifies the ones she already has. A single glance becomes a sign. A small compliment becomes proof. A moment of connection becomes evidence of destiny. That's the power of scarcity. It transforms simplicity into meaning. He didn't ignore her to play games. He just didn't need her validation the way others did. And that, ironically, makes him more valuable than all of them combined. Because the rarest thing a man can offer in today's world is indifference to distraction. And women feel that difference instantly. They may not admit it, but the calm man, the one who doesn't chase, doesn't perform, doesn't react, reminds them of what real power feels like. Not loud, not emotional, not desperate, but controlled. His lack of urgency is a mirror to her dependency. And deep down she knows it. That's why she keeps coming back. Not because he gives her something, but because he refuses to give her everything. It's not cruelty that draws her in. It's contrast. In a world of constant noise, his silence feels like authority. And that's the paradox she can't escape. The more he ignores her, the more she sees him. Because what's rare is always remembered, and what's calm is always craved. At first, she mistakes his calm for arrogance. Because in her world, silence is never neutral. It's either interest or rejection. And when he gives her neither, she doesn't know what to do. He doesn't chase. He doesn't compete. He doesn't fold under pressure. He simply is. He's steady, deliberate, unbothered. And that stillness, that quiet control starts to feel dangerous. Because his peace doesn't respond to chaos. It exposes it. She's used to being the storm, to watching men bend, react, reassure, explain. But he doesn't flinch. He lets the storm pass and stands there as if it never touched him. And that's when something strange happens. The power shifts. For the first time, she's not the one being pursued. She's the one seeking attention. Not because she wants him to love her, but because she wants to feel her power again. But it doesn't work. Every attempt to provoke him, the delayed replies, the subtle games, the withdrawal, falls flat. He doesn't bite. He doesn't chase. He doesn't even seem to notice. And that makes him intoxicating. Because his composure makes her question her own. His restraint makes her realize how impulsive she's become. His focus makes her see how scattered she really is. He doesn't need validation, and that's what makes him magnetic. Because in a world where everyone's trying to be seen, he's the only one who doesn't care to be watched. He's not performing. He's not competing for attention. He's just living, intentionally, quietly, purposefully. And that's the part that confuses her most. Because he's not trying to impress anyone. But somehow, he stands out. He's not chasing connection, but people feel drawn to him. He's not loud, but he commands presence. It's not his looks, his money, or his charm that pull her in. It's his detachment. It's his self-control. It's his peace. Because peace, when embodied by a man, is the rarest energy left on earth. She can't manipulate it, can't compete with it, can't replace it. And that's why she can't stop thinking about it. His calm reminds her of something she lost. The ability to feel grounded, secure, enough. And deep down she knows. She doesn't want to control him. She wants to be him. Because the calm that confuses her is really the peace she's been chasing her whole life. Silence has a strange way of turning into a mirror. When he doesn't react, she's forced to see herself. Clearly, maybe for the first time. Because in the absence of his attention, there's nowhere left to hide. All the tactics, all the charm, all the carefully constructed confidence, none of it works on him. And suddenly, she's confronted with the truth she's been avoiding. She never learned how to feel valuable without being validated. That's what makes him so dangerous. Not his indifference, not his mystery, but the reflection he creates in his stillness. When he doesn't chase, she starts to question why she needs to be chased. When he doesn't praise, she starts to wonder why she can't feel beautiful without it. When he doesn't react, she starts to realize how addicted she's become to control. He's not punishing her. He's not playing a game. He's simply showing her what peace looks like, and peace terrifies people who've only ever known chaos. His silence forces introspection. It strips away illusion. It holds up a mirror to every insecurity she's tried to bury under filters, affirmations, and followers. She wanted his attention to prove her worth. But his detachment reveals how little she believes in it herself. And that's the real reason she can't stop thinking about him, because deep down she knows the truth. He's not ignoring her. He's exposing her. Every minute he doesn't reach out, every time he doesn't respond to her subtle provocations, she becomes more aware of the emptiness she's been avoiding. It's not rejection she feels, it's recognition. Recognition of how fragile her confidence really is when it isn't being fed. And in that realization, something shifts. The games lose their thrill. The noise starts to feel empty. The attention she once bathed in now feels cheap. Because once a woman sees herself through the eyes of a man who doesn't need her, she can never look at herself the same way again. That's the mirror effect. His silence reflecting her dependence, his composure revealing her chaos, his peace exposing her unrest. It's not that he's better. It's not that she's worse. It's that his stillness revealed what her validation was hiding. And now she stands at a crossroads. Either face the reflection and grow, or run back into the noise that kept her distracted. Most run, a few don't, and the ones who don't, the ones who face the mirror, they change. Because once you've seen yourself without the filter of attention, you can never go back to pretending that validation feels like love. It happens quietly, no confrontation, no announcement. Just an invisible shift. The moment he stops orbiting her, and she starts orbiting him. The power dynamic reverses, because for the first time, she's the one waiting for the message that doesn't come, waiting for the reply that takes hours, waiting for his attention, the same attention she once drowned in from everyone else. And the more he withholds it, the more valuable it becomes. That's the irony of control. The one who needs nothing or always holds everything. He's not playing hard to get. He's simply not playing at all. While she's calculating every move, he's living, focused, purposeful, present. His detachment isn't a tactic. It's discipline. It's peace. It's freedom from the emotional games that used to drain him. And that freedom has a gravitational pull, because nothing draws people in more than someone who doesn't seek validation. He doesn't post to impress. He doesn't explain to be understood. He doesn't chase, because what's meant for him will meet him halfway. That level of calm is intoxicating, especially to someone who's built her identity on reaction. Now, she's the one replaying conversations in her head. She's the one reading meaning into silence. She's the one performing, trying to reclaim the power that slipped through her fingers when she realized he was never trying to take it. Because his indifference is not cruelty, it's clarity. He's not withdrawing to punish her. He's just done overgiving. And the moment a man realizes he doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth, the entire dynamic of attraction changes. His stillness becomes strength. His restraint becomes mystery. His peace becomes dominance. And she feels it. She feels it when she tries to provoke him and he doesn't react. She feels it when she tries to ignore him and he doesn't chase. She feels it when she tries to walk away and he doesn't follow, because that's when she understands something painful and profound. The power she thought she had was never real. It existed only as long as he allowed it. Only as long as he needed her attention to feel seen. Now that he doesn't, she's left with the truth. That control built on validation always collapses when the other person finds peace. So she stays silent, scrolling, thinking, remembering. And he moves forward, untouched. Not because he's trying to win, but because he already did. He won the only battle that matters, the one against himself. Because the man who no longer needs validation no longer fears losing it. And that's the moment she finally sees. The power was never in being desired. It was in being free. In the end, it was never about him. The man who ignored her wasn't a villain. He wasn't trying to teach her a lesson. He wasn't even trying to win. He was just living, quietly, peacefully, on his own terms. But in doing so, he revealed something about her that no man ever had. That her sense of control was never real. Because control that depends on someone else's reaction isn't control at all. It's dependence, dressed as dominance. And when she met a man who didn't react, the illusion shattered. His silence wasn't rejection. It was reflection. A mirror showing her the cracks beneath her confidence, the fragility beneath her power, the emptiness beneath her performance. He wasn't punishing her with distance. He was just refusing to participate in her chaos. And that decision, that calm indifference, forced her to confront the truth she spent years avoiding. That attention is not affection, and validation is not love. She thought his lack of interest was cruelty. She called it coldness. She called it arrogance. But deep down, she knew it was something else. Something she couldn't name without breaking the illusion. It was freedom. He was free. Free from the need to prove his worth. Free from the endless dance of validation and approval. Free from the emotional games that drain most men dry. And that freedom terrified her because she realized she didn't have it. She had power, yes. Influence, yes. But not freedom, not peace, not stillness. She spent so long mastering control over others that she forgot how to master control over herself. That's the truth about control. You never really have it over anyone. You only have it over your own emotions, your own energy, your own reaction. And that's why the man who ignored her became unforgettable. Not because he played hard to get, not because he withheld affection, but because he revealed something sacred, that the calmest energy in the room always wins. She'll replay the moments, the silence, the stillness, the way he never flinched, and she'll call it mystery or arrogance or distance. But deep down she'll know what it really was. It was power, the kind that doesn't come from control, but from self-respect. Because when a man learns to master his emotions, he becomes untouchable. And when a woman finally sees that kind of peace, she doesn't fall in love with the man. She falls in love with the feeling of being near him, even if she never feels it again.